Hello, my name is Cecilia Bonefeld. I am at the board of this wonderful association, and I am also the Secretary General of Digital Europe. We represent around 35,000 companies in Europe, and we used to only represent what was called the tech industry, but now we have manufacturing companies, medical companies, pharma companies, other sectors joining us, because 10 years ago we said digital isn't everything, and now we are right. It actually is. So I am also on the high-level group of the Commission, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. I want to say a couple of things around AI. AI is just a tool. AI is actually not a new tool. It is something that we have done for a long time. Data analysis, data mining. The small new thing, the name artificial intelligence, is something that had evolved over a long time. And the new thing, the small new thing that it has, is the self-learning element. So when we talk about AI, AI is everything and nothing, right? It's everything, the data economy, competition, policies and everything. But actually the new thing for me is the self-learning element, that you can have a piece of software, of intelligence that can keep on learning without you telling it exactly what to learn. And that is also why we need to think about how do we actually have a possibility of knowing what's going on there in the cases where we need to know. Already today, there is a lot of things we do not know. We have an airplane, right? Do we understand how it flies? I don't. We have a television. Do we understand? No. But we're very good at making standards. We know how to work with standards. We know how to work with technology. We know how to describe its functionality. So, first question was, how can private and public sector mobilize significant AI investment in Europe that enable us to compete with US and China? We cannot. We will never have as much money, but we will do it in a different way. I would say, if I had the choice of investment, I would put all my money in skills. Why? Because I believe in two things. I believe in digital enablement. When people actually know what and understand what's going on with technology, they are no longer afraid. When they are not afraid, they become creative, and they start becoming creators and not users. So if we want to get the fastest result, put everything on skills, put everything on competences, and people will solve, one, the fear of technology, two, the lack of innovation and creativity. Third, the second thing I would do would be looking at where are my strength position, and not least what Andrea said, what do we want? Put a strategy in place saying, okay, I want to actually be able to diagnose people who has serious diseases before they get sick and offer them treatment before they get sick. This will not only, seen from a financial perspective, actually give us a chance not to spend our money on sick people, but on people before they get sick. And it will actually improve our health and our society and bring things. That could be, for me, a vision on how to use artificial intelligence and how to invest. So I would say, no, the amount will never get there, but put in place a strategy on where you want to invest. And another thing we could do is actually to change our procurement system. So we actually enable not only very big companies who have a solid base to enter the public procurement system, but for innovative, smaller companies actually to have a try and a go in some of the public services, in health, in transportation, and so on. So I would do it in a different way. Mission-based, know what I want, and then give people the skills to actually execute the strategy. Then I would say we are also very well off. We have actually just launched the Digital Europe program. Thank you for taking our name. We are very delighted. You can borrow our name anytime for that kind of initiative. So it is actually the first deployment program. So it's actually giving money to deploy technology into existing activities, like skills, like AI, investment in SMEs. So we are already doing something, and I think 9.2 billion is ridiculously low let's double the amount. Let's push the countries basically to invest much more in technology, because it's the only booster. We should stop investing in dying economies or dying sectors and start boosting them with more technology. So let's look at it. It was said, what regulatory framework do we need in Europe to provide legal certainty for AI investments? Legal certainty for AI investments. Well, I am not sure we can ever have legal certainty for AI investments. So let me elaborate on this in the next one. How we get a fully functional digital single market for AI products and services and address the risks of AI. Well, when we have defined the missions and we know where to put our money and what we want with AI, then of course we need to ask ourselves, are there actually risks? There, of course, we need to look per sector, and we need to look at different risk levels. Do we actually need full transparency in very, simple algorithms that maybe put codes in a certain row, or, well, it always happened today and we never needed it, but do we need, for example, some kind of insight in how we handle algorithms that can, for example, have a bias in them? Yes, maybe. And that is exactly what we're doing with the guidelines. One of the things that we're doing is that we're looking at an assessment list for the developers of AI. We look at what are the ethical or trustworthy criteria, such as, for example, transparency, that we would like to have or address when we develop AI. So the developer can ask themselves, is my data biased? Yes or no? Did I actually test for this? Did I actually check that? So really guidelines that how we develop AI. And another thing that we are discussing at the moment is to have a sandboxing period. So instead of just going out there saying we need to regulate everything and nothing, we're going to use those assessment lists to actually offer companies to try them out. Give us feedback. Do they work? No. If they don't work, how do we change them? Is there something missing? What is the experience with development of AI using that assessment list? So I think it's a chance for the EU for the first time to actually do real-life policy sandboxing. Taking feedback from public institutions, from companies from different sectors on how to apply the guidelines. And for me, that is the ultimate goal. I mean, if we really succeed in doing that right with the AI group, we have done something that I think is quite unique. One, doing actually a sandbox for AI, and how to also sandbox for how to development policies and not just regulating blindfolded without actually knowing in this new area how to go about it. So I think that is definitely a crucial goal. And then I would say we have actually policies in place that are related. We have just passed the directive of the data flows. Big, giant step. We now have free flow of data in Europe, non-personal data. We actually have the PSI directive giving access to public data, and standardizing APIs. We have just seen that the considerations on the copyright directive, where there were some unforeseen consequences actually preventing companies from doing data mining. We've seen that it was actually considered that this could hurt AI development, and therefore the exception was given. So I think we have actually put a lot of things in place. And also remember, we actually have a strong legal framework. I'm not sure we need much more regulation. Actually, I think we need, each time we regulate on something else, we need to think, is there anything that will prevent us from reaching our missions and our goals instead? And last but not least, what are the safeguards? Well, Europe is pretty strong in doing standards, so I'm sure that after this sandboxing period, we'll have a lot more experience in where do we need to develop standards, where do we need to just have guidelines, do we need to regulate on specific high-risk areas, and then we can consider how to do that afterwards. I think we're pretty strong in Europe. I don't think that we need to think that we are behind. But one thing we do need, and that's why I keep on mentioning mission-based and agile policy sandboxing, is that we are a bit slow. We are actually a little bit slow. So, and we are, you know, our policy making process is too slow compared to the speed and the scale needed. So I would say one of the things that we need to make sure in the new Commission is that we get unfragmented European market. At the moment, we have 2/3 of the tech unicorns leaving Europe in the 2 first growth phases because it's just too difficult. It is too difficult to go from France to Germany or Germany to Denmark or vice versa, and therefore they leave. That is our only risk. We need to speed up and we need to get it right. And we need to take ourselves serious when we say Europe an unfragmented market. Thank you.